The subtle ways I show a woman she's special without saying too much. There's something you need to understand about women, and it's something most men never figure out. She doesn't fall for the man who talks the most. She falls for the man who makes her feel the most. The guys who drown her in constant compliments, over-explain their every thought, or try to force romance with exaggerated gestures always end up forgotten. Why? Because words without weight are noise. What actually makes a woman feel special is the man who knows how to move differently. The man who doesn't need to say much because his actions, his presence, and his restraint do the talking for him. That's the difference between a man who gets remembered and a man who gets overlooked. If you've been struggling with relationships, it's probably not because you're not nice enough or romantic enough. It's because you don't yet understand how to communicate your value without giving it all away. That's what we're going to break down in this video. I'm going to show you the subtle ways you can make a woman feel like she's one in a million, without ever chasing, without ever begging, and without ever giving up your power. And if you're serious about becoming the kind of man women respect, desire, and want to stay with, subscribe to this channel right now. This is the Alpha Mindset, and I promise you, the truths you'll hear here will change the way you see yourself and the way women see you. Keep an open mind, because some of what I'm going to say might challenge you. But if you're ready, let's get into it. 1. Your silence is louder than their noise. Most men don't understand silence. They fear it. They rush to fill every gap in conversation because they think if there's a pause, she'll lose interest. They bombard her with explanations, compliments, and reassurances because they believe silence means disconnection. But let me tell you this. Silence, when mastered, is one of the most powerful ways to show her she's special. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." That calm mind is what women feel when they're around a man who isn't desperate to prove himself with words. Silence tells her that you're comfortable in your own presence, that you don't need to be constantly validated, and that you're not afraid of her judgment. It forces her to lean into you, to wonder what you're thinking, to engage her curiosity. That's attraction at a primal level. Think about it. When was the last time you sat with a woman, looked at her, and let the moment breathe instead of rushing to fill the air? Did you notice how she shifted in her seat, smiled nervously, or leaned in a little closer? That's the power of your silence. It makes her feel that you're not like the rest. You're not trying to entertain her. You're letting her experience you. And here's the part most men don't get. When a woman feels she has to earn your words, your attention, your stories, she values them 10 times more. But let me ask you this. Are you the man who panics in silence or the man who controls it? If silence makes you uncomfortable, then you've already given away your frame. You've already said, her presence is too powerful for me to handle without overcompensating. But if you own silence, if you wear it like armor, then you become magnetic. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And many men waste their time with women by drowning them in useless chatter. Silence forces you to cut the waste and let your presence carry the weight. When you show her that you don't need to speak to connect, you make her feel like she's sitting across from someone rare, someone grounded, someone she can't figure out easily. And nothing makes a woman feel more special than knowing she's in the presence of a man who doesn't reveal himself to just anyone. 2. Selective attention is the rarest form of value. Women are drowning in attention today. Every post she uploads on Instagram, every time she walks into a room, every time she opens her phone, there's a flood of likes, comments, and stares. Attention is cheap. Every man is willing to give it away in bulk, hoping to stand out, not realizing that by doing so, they make themselves blend in. If you want a woman to feel truly special, you don't give her the same attention everyone else gives. You give her selective attention. Epictetus taught, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Apply that to attraction, and you realize that the richest men in the eyes of women are the ones who don't crave everything they see. They choose, they filter. They notice what others miss. When you practice selective attention, you're telling her, without saying a word, that you're not desperate. You're not starving for female validation. You're not impressed by what everyone else is impressed by. Instead, you notice the little things, the way her eyes light up when she talks about something she loves, the way she fidgets when she's nervous, the way she pushes herself when she's passionate. And here's why this is so powerful, because it shows restraint. When you don't react to everything, when you're not another man in the crowd showering her with cheap compliments, the moments you do give her attention become unforgettable. She remembers them because they stand out from the noise. It's the same principle as luxury. Something is valuable because it's rare, not because it's everywhere. Your attention works the same way. But here's the question you need to face. Do you give attention because you feel like you have to, or because you've chosen to? Most men give attention out of compulsion. They can't help but tell her how good she looks, how amazing she is, how lucky they feel. But the man who practices selective attention gives it out of choice. And because it's rare, it lands with impact. Think of it this way. Would you rather be the man she forgets because you sound like every other voice in her life, or the man she remembers because when you did notice her, it cut deeper than all the noise combined? Selective attention makes her feel like she's been discovered, not just complimented. And every woman wants to feel discovered. So when you're with her, don't compete with the crowd. Rise above it. Ignore what everyone else sees and find what no one else has bothered to notice. That's how you show her she's special, without saying too much. When you start to really understand the subtlety of power in relationships, you realize that attraction isn't about how loud you are, how hard you chase, or how much you give. It's about how intentional you are. The men who win aren't the ones who try to overwhelm women with energy. They're the ones who know how to direct their energy with precision. Every gesture, every glance, every response is deliberate. And because it's deliberate, it leaves a deeper mark. Women aren't impressed by volume. They're impressed by meaning. This is why so many men struggle. They think the secret to winning her over is effort. Texting more, calling more, complimenting more, doing more. But the truth is, every time you try to prove your worth with excess, you dilute your value. It's like pouring too much water into wine. What could have been rich and intoxicating becomes watered down and forgettable. If you want a woman to feel like she's truly special, you don't give her more. You give her better. And better always comes from subtle, controlled moves that make her stop and think, this man is different. 3. Consistency builds trust. Scarcity builds desire. Here's a paradox most men never master. If you want a woman to feel special, you have to balance being reliable with being rare. Too much reliability, and you become predictable. Too much scarcity, and you become unavailable. But when you master the balance between consistency and scarcity, you create an irresistible pull that makes her feel both safe and excited. Marcus Aurelius lived by principles that never wavered. His consistency as a ruler and as a man made his people trust him. In the same way, your consistency makes a woman feel like she can trust your character. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. When you set a standard, you uphold it. That consistency communicates strength. It tells her you're not a man who crumbles under pressure or shifts with the wind. But consistency alone isn't enough. If you're always available, always present, always giving, you remove the very thing that fuels attraction, mystery. That's where scarcity comes in. Scarcity doesn't mean playing games or disappearing randomly. It means you don't hand yourself over on demand. You don't cancel your life for her. You don't text her back within seconds just because you're afraid she'll lose interest. Instead, you create space. You let her miss you. You let her wonder what you're doing, what you're thinking, and why you don't give her everything all at once. Ask yourself this: are you a man she can rely on and a man she can chase? Or are you either too predictable or too distant? Most men swing to one extreme. They either smother her with constant availability or they starve her with cold detachment. The real strength is in balance. Consistency makes her feel safe in your presence. Scarcity makes her crave your presence. Put them together, and you give her the gift of both stability and excitement. And when a woman feels both, she feels truly special. 4. Subtle gestures reveal true depth. Here's where men misunderstand romance. They think it's about grand gestures, flowers, expensive dinners, dramatic surprises. But women don't measure romance in the size of the gesture. They measure it in the depth of the intention. A subtle move, when done with precision, will always mean more than a loud, generic display. Seneca once wrote, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." The same is true in how you express yourself to a woman. If you want her to feel special, pay attention to the little things that speak directly to her. Maybe you remember a story she told weeks ago and bring it up at the perfect moment. Maybe you pour her a drink the way she likes without her asking. Maybe you walk on the outside of the sidewalk without saying a word. These aren't grand gestures, but they hit deeper because they're thoughtful. They show you're not just trying to impress her, you're tuned into her. The power of subtle gestures is that they bypass the noise. Anyone can buy flowers. Anyone can say, "You're beautiful." But not everyone notices the way she pauses before she speaks, or how she prefers her coffee, or the fact that she always touches her necklace when she's nervous. When you respond to those things, you tell her she's seen. And when a woman feels seen in the details, she feels special in the whole. Here's the mind-blowing question you need to sit with. Do your actions look like every other man's actions, or do they look like they were made just for her? If they look like every other man's actions, she won't remember them. But if they feel uniquely tailored, she'll carry them with her. And that's what makes the subtlety of gestures so powerful. It's not about how big they are. It's about how personal they are. 5. Boundaries are the highest form of respect. This one may surprise you, but it's one of the most important. Most men think that to make a woman feel special, they need to bend, compromise, and give in to everything she wants. They confuse compliance with love. But here's the truth. When you give up your boundaries, you don't make her feel special. You make her lose respect. Boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're standards that show people how to value you. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Your boundaries are proof that you are the master of yourself. They communicate that while you care about her, you also respect yourself. And a man who respects himself is a man a woman can trust. Why? Because if you don't respect yourself, how can you ever truly respect her? Imagine this. She tests you. She pushes a little. She wants to see how far she can go. Most men fold. They think giving her everything will win her over. But the man who calmly holds his ground, who smiles and says, "No, that doesn't work for me," is the man who earns her admiration. She may pout, she may challenge you, but deep down, she feels something she doesn't feel with weak men: safety. A woman feels special not when you lose yourself for her, but when you show her you won't lose yourself, no matter how much you care about her. Let me ask you this. Are you setting boundaries to protect your value, or are you dropping them to chase approval? Because if you're dropping them, you're teaching her to see you as disposable. But if you're holding them, you're teaching her that your presence is something to be valued. And ironically, it's when you hold your boundaries that she feels the most special, because she realizes she's with a man who can't be bought, can't be bent, and can't be broken. That's a rare kind of strength, and women never forget it. By now, you can probably see the pattern. The men who truly make a woman feel special aren't the ones who hand out constant words, gifts, and attention. They're the ones who use subtlety, restraint, and intention to separate themselves from the crowd. Every move is calculated, every word chosen, every silence filled with meaning. That's the difference between the forgettable man and the unforgettable one. But we are not done yet. Because there are two more subtle but powerful ways to show a woman she matters without ever giving away your power. 6. Emotional composure is the rarest form of strength. A woman feels most special when she realizes she's with a man who cannot be shaken. And I don't just mean physically, I mean emotionally. Most men lose their center at the first sign of conflict, pressure, or rejection. They get defensive when she tests them. They raise their voices when she disagrees. They sulk when she pulls away. They let their emotions run the show. And nothing destroys attraction faster than emotional instability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what emotional composure is. The ability to remain grounded no matter what's happening around you. When she challenges you, you stay calm. When she withdraws, you don't panic. When she throws her storms at you, you don't get swept away. That calmness makes her feel like she's in the presence of a man who is bigger than the moment. And that in itself makes her feel special, because she knows she's with someone rare. Think about it. If every man before you has reacted with anger, desperation, or insecurity, and you respond with unshakable calm, how do you think she feels? She feels like she's finally found someone different, someone solid, someone who doesn't just talk about strength, but embodies it. Emotional composure is proof of self-mastery, and self-mastery is the ultimate signal of power. Ask yourself this: do you control your emotions, or do your emotions control you? Because if your emotions control you, she will never feel safe with you. But if you control them, she'll feel not only safe, but chosen. A man who can stay calm under pressure tells a woman, "You are important to me, but you will never make me lose myself." And that's what makes her feel truly special. Knowing she's with a man who is grounded enough to hold both himself and her world together. 7. Purpose makes everything else secondary. This last point might sound counterintuitive, but it's the most important. The greatest way you can make a woman feel special is by not making her your entire world. When your purpose comes first, your vision, your mission, your growth, you elevate everything around you, including her. Why? Because women feel most valued not when you abandon your path for them, but when they're invited to join a man who refuses to stray from his path. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's purpose, and purpose is magnetic. When a woman sees that your life has direction, that you wake up every day with focus, that you won't be swayed by temporary distractions, she realizes she's in the presence of a man who's going somewhere. And here's the secret: she doesn't want to be your purpose. She wants to walk beside a man who already has one. Most men make the mistake of making a woman their center. They cancel their goals, their routines, their dreams just to be available. They think it makes her feel important. But in reality, it makes her feel like she's carrying all the weight. It makes her lose respect. Because deep down, a woman knows she doesn't want to be with a man who has no higher mission. She wants to feel like she's chosen by someone strong enough to have options. Someone who can give her a place in his world without losing his world in the process. So here's the question that should shake you. If she left tomorrow, would your life collapse, or would it continue to move forward with purpose? Because if your entire sense of direction depends on her, she'll never feel special. She'll feel burdened. But if she sees that you're locked into your vision, and yet you still choose her, she'll feel more special than any words could ever make her feel. Purpose makes your love stronger because it's not needy, it's chosen. And nothing feels more powerful to a woman than being chosen by a man who doesn't need her, but wants her. Conclusion. The subtle ways you make a woman feel special are not about words, gifts, or desperate efforts. They're about silence, selective attention, balance, subtle gestures, boundaries, composure, and purpose. Each one is proof that you respect yourself enough to move with intention, and that respect spills over into how she experiences you. Never forget this. She doesn't fall for the man who gives her everything. She falls for the man who gives with meaning. If you want her to feel chosen, if you want her to feel truly special, stop trying to prove yourself and start moving with quiet strength. That's what makes you unforgettable. Subscribe now, because this is just the beginning of mastering the alpha mindset. And if you're ready, I'll see you in the next one.